Every time you watch another worship leader and think, I'll never sound like that, I want you to know that you're training your brain to quit, to give up before you've even started. Let's fix that today. This is the third video in this playlist. And if you missed the first two, we covered why practicing more may not necessarily be the fix. And we also covered why your voice actually may be disappearing under pressure. Today's the third belief. And honestly, ever since the rise of YouTube and social media, this is one that I see a lot of worship leaders struggling with, and that is comparison. And I want to tell you about a specific time that it nearly talked me out of continuing in ministry at all. Hey there, my name is Sam Cannoli, and I've been leading worship for over 30 years. I've recorded several albums. I've traveled the world. I've worked with hundreds of worship leaders in just about every environment. So many different cultures, church sizes, right? Big, small, you name it, I've done it. And I've learned so much over the years, a lot from my own errors and experiences. And this topic of comparison took me a long time to conquer. But listen, that doesn't have to be your story. Here's the belief that we're taking apart today, that comparing your voice to someone else's tells you anything useful about where you actually stand. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. And by the end of this video, I want you to have a completely different metric to track your growth in your voice instead. I always compared my voice to my big brother, Bingo, who I started singing with as a teenager. And over the years, we've recorded 3 albums together. We've traveled the world alongside my dad. And it's important to know this. My brother is a first tenor. And that basically means that he can sing about as high as he ever wants to. He can sing any riff, any run out there. Y'all, he's really, really good. And singing with him, especially in the beginning, always left me feeling incredibly insecure. I was always hyper-focused about my ability or lack thereof, especially in comparison to his. And I remember wishing that my voice sounded different, that it sounded like his. I mean, I despised this baritone voice that the Lord gave me. And every time we would record, I would think that I sounded horrible because I was comparing my voice to his, always feeling like I was falling like way short of expectations. But it was actually my brother that encouraged me and pushed me. He encouraged me by telling me how my voice brought contrast to our sound. And he put emphasis on all the ways that my voice was unique and how he loved hearing my singing and how some of the thoughts that I had about him, actually, he had the same thoughts about me, which was crazy. He also really pushed me to be better, to strive for growth, leaning on me more and more over the years and really raising expectations. And he still does that to this very day. His confidence in me drove me to really go after my own personal vocal goals. And besides that, he was relying on me like I was relying on him. His confidence in me actually really turned things around, and not just physically with my voice, but emotionally and even spiritually. And I'm called to this. I am enough. God gave me the perfect gift, unlike anyone else, and all I need to do is steward it well. And looking back, that entire spiral was built on a comparison that was never fair to begin with. And let me show you exactly why. Here's the specific version of this that hits worship leaders. You're not comparing yourself to another person live in the room under the same conditions that you're under. You're comparing yourself to a recording, a mixed, mastered, probably auto-tuned, and definitely edited recording versus your live, unedited voice in a room with bad monitors, maybe you got good monitors, but on a Sunday morning after 3 other things went wrong that morning. Like before you even picked up a mic, it could have been chaos. Listen, that's not a fair comparison. That's not even in the same category of a thing. You're holding your rawest moment up against someone else's most polished one, and then drawing conclusions about your talent from that mismatch. And here's what comparison actually does to you. It pulls your attention completely away from the one thing that actually matters: your own progress against your own baseline. You don't get better by closing the gap between you and someone else's highlight reel. Did you hear that? I'll say that again. You don't get better by closing the gap between you and your favorite worship leader's highlight reel. You get better by closing the gap between you last month and then you this month. Comparison feels like motivation, but it's actually just a very effective way to convince yourself to quit before the progress even has a chance to show up. One note, I do want to say this. It's okay to have a standard that you're measuring yourself up to. So whether it's one of the latest worship songs that's been released that sounds amazing, or maybe it's an amazing worship leader that has an incredible voice and does some incredible things with that voice. Listen, it's okay to do your best to sound as close to that recording as possible, so long as you keep everything in its proper perspective. Strive for pitch excellence, right? Strive to increase your vocal range so you can hit those high notes. Go to the shed and work on that vocal agility so that you can sing the riffs and the runs that you desire to sing. But just be patient with yourself, okay? Now, here's something you can actually use this week. Next time you catch yourself comparing, stop and ask one specific question instead. Is this better than where I was 3 months ago? Not better than them, right? Not better than them, but better than you 3 months back. That's the only comparison that's actually accurate. And it's the only one you have full information about. Track that instead, even loosely, even if it's just in your memory, although I would definitely encourage you to review the tapes, right? Watch the recordings and compare them side by side to truly and accurately assess your growth or lack thereof. But that's the metric that actually moves you forward. I've worked with so many worship leaders who stopped posting, they stopped practicing, they almost stopped leading altogether, not because their voice got worse, but because they spent a season measuring themselves against people who'd been doing this for 15 years or longer. And the moment they switched to tracking their own 3-month progress instead, the motivation came back, I would say almost immediately. Nothing about their voices changed in that moment. Only the measuring stick did. Some of you might be thinking, but don't I need some external standard to know if I'm actually good? And that is actually a fair question. And the answer is external feedback still matters. A trusted ear, a coach, a worship pastor maybe given some honest input. That's different from doom scrolling someone's highlight reel and drawing conclusions in isolation. One is feedback. The other is just self-inflicted discouragement. So let's bring this full circle, because this is the third video in a row breaking apart a belief that's quietly keeping worship leaders stuck. Belief one was that practicing more is the fix. And oftentimes it's not. It's a structure issue. Structure is. Belief two is that your voice disappearing under pressure means that you're just not confident. And you need to understand it's not a confidence problem. It's a trainable breath response problem. So that's that. Now, belief three, that comparing yourself to other voices tells you anything useful. It doesn't. Your own progress is the only metric that truly matters. 3 different beliefs, one thing underneath all of them. You've been measuring the wrong things against the wrong standards, and probably for a very long time. That can change. Let's say it in faith. That changes today. Okay. I'm done talking about the problems. I'm stepping down from my soapbox here, but moving forward, I'm going to start showing you real worship leaders who broke through all three of these, exactly what changed, and in their own words. And so what I'd like for you to do is I'd like you to comment below. Tell me which of these three beliefs you've believed the most. Practice, pressure, comparison. I promise I will read every comment. I will respond to everyone personally. I mean, unless I get 10,000, but I don't foresee that happening. But if you haven't already grabbed my free guide on why your voice fails on Sunday, it's linked in the description below. It sets up everything that I plan to show you in videos to come. But let's unveil the true potential locked up inside of you. And honestly, isn't it about time? Let's not squander one more day comparing yourself to anyone else, and let's begin taking the steps to becoming the worship leader God's truly called you to be.